Ladies and gentlemen, it is fight week. We are back at Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Ginn. That's Extremo Alex Soto. Alex, you're getting ready to head down to Monterrey, Mexico. LUX Fight League 28. The ladies headlining the cards. You got 2 title fights. But wait. Head over to FightersFirst.shop and get the apparel first. Got to take care of business. And today, Alex, your good friend, Shorty Torres, his collection is live right now on FightersFirst.shop. Of course, Alex and Shorty go way back. They did some Dagestani wrestling training, all that stuff with Brave. Of course, Shorty's still a Brave fighter. So check out Chicago's own Shorty Torres, his collection right now on FightersFirst.shop. But Alex, I know as much as people love to go shop at Fighters First, they're also here to hear about some Mexican MMA. They're here to talk about LUX Fight League. And who better than the color commentator, former UFC fighter, than Extremo Alex Soto. Alex, how are you today, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. And what a great news to get Shorty on board the Fighters First. That's so awesome, man. Like I said, first time I saw Shorty fighting was at the amateur world tournament in Las Vegas. It was only the
World Championships.
Yeah, the amateur world championships. It was like the second time that they were happening there. And there, you saw James Gallagher there. Franz Malambo was fighting there. And then, of course, Shorty Torres was like just destroying. It was the second time going through the competition and winning the title. So we saw him slap the Moroccan kid. It was awesome, man. So yeah, that kid has had an amazing career, and it's great to hear that you got him online now. That's great.
Yeah, it's been a long time in the works. We wanted to wait till he got back in the cage. Of course, last month he returned to the cage, got a big win at Brave. So he's back in action. Might have new fight news coming soon as well with the new year approaching. So it's good to have him in the cage. Better to have him as part of the family. Of course, also you can get the Extremo collection. Don't sell yourself short.
Oh, come on, Shorty.
And also, was that not a hell of an intro for you?
A fantastic intro.
That's probably one of the best ones I've given you. Got myself on the back.
Clean, smooth. Well done.
All right, but we're here to talk about LUX Fight League 28. You're heading down to Monterrey, Mexico this weekend. On the 18th, you got 2 title fights. Of course, one of them technically an interim title fight because Orozco's off doing her reality competition. By the way, I found out that my mother-in-law watches that religiously. The
that TV show?
The Exacticon. Yeah. Exacticon. I really don't know how to say it, but sure. That challenge show that they do, my mother-in-law watches it religiously.
So she's a fan of
we were flipping channels one day, and my wife was like, "Hey, that's the show that my mom watches all the time." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the show that I was telling you the fighter's on, the one with the red hair right there, over there." Oh. And sure enough, that was one of the episodes she was on. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
But that leads us to an interim title fight. We got, of course, the hometown girl, Victoria Alba, headlining against Ellie Rodriguez. We got Chocolate Romo going against Vasquez. We got the return of Diego Lopes. We got the elder Luis Rodriguez. We have been incorrectly saying, well, I'm not going to say we. I have been incorrectly thinking that it was Lazy Boy coming back. But this is actually Luis Ivan Rodriguez, Nino Azteca. He'll be in action. Kevin Garcia, Irvin Amaya. So this is a stacked card, not to mention the Challenger Series. But, Alex, let's jump right into the main event. Victoria Alba making her first defense of the Women's Flyweight Championship against Ellie Rodriguez. Ellie was scheduled to fight, I want to say, either LUX 27 or 26, and I wondered why she had been pulled at the last second. Well, we found out very quickly why, because she actually got promoted. She's actually getting a title shot. What do you think of this main event, and how do you kind of see it all playing out?
I think it's like the continuance of the development of the flyweight division here. Things are moving. You got to move things forward with Saray Orozco on the TV show. And Victoria Alba is just
that's the strawweights. Orozco's on the strawweight, so she's the strawweight.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. She's the strawweight. Yeah, excuse me. But
yeah, Alba just won that belt against Alba won that belt in that slugfest and that long drawn out war against Danielle Villasmil.
Villasmil, yeah, that's correct. And Villasmil, was actually kind of more. We were leaning towards Villasmil winning that fight, but Victoria Alba had some different plans, and she came out with, really an aggressive striking game that really played out really well in that fight. And
right from the get-go, she just right in the beginning of the fight just started teeing off.
My favorite thing that she does very well is that push kick, man. That push kick, she kind of delivers it really well, uses it like a jab. and gets that dominant win there at the end. I mean, she finishes it off. And I remember I posted a video right after that of Conor McGregor doing the push kick against Chad Mendes, and then following it up with his left hand. And so Alba did a very similar finish there, which I thought was really cool, man. You know, some of those things give me some flashbacks of watching some of those awesome UFC fights. But she's got a tough competition against Eli Rodriguez. Not a lot of experience. You know, she has, you know, just been going pro since 2019. But you know what? She's one of those girls that has really good striking skills. And she's very clean with her striking. And her boxing particularly, she's very, very well. When you see her fight, she's moving to the left, to the right, cutting those angles. Actually really fun to watch, and she's very effective with that strike. Pop, pop, pop. She's constantly peppering her opponents, which is really which is going to be really interesting. However, I don't see a lot of kicks from Eli Rodriguez, not a lot of different style of combinations. And Victoria Alba, because of that, I see Victoria Alba has a little bit more in the toolbox for her for this fight. So Eli is going to need to come out of this fight with more tools, man. We need to see her actually work in those takedowns to try to threaten that that striking game of Alba and kick her off her game a little bit. We'll see how much she studied that, and we'll see that here this weekend.
Yeah, the last time we saw Ellie was on that card with Beltran and Fito Rubio back on 23, and you know she had a tough contest against Cespedes, came out on the other end of that one, but she also fought Danielle Villas-Mil. It was a split decision loss, but it was a close fight. If she won that fight, she might have been the one going against Alba to begin with to, you know, get this division kind of kick-started with the flyweights. Of course, we look at Victoria Alba, you're like, oh, she's only 2-0. Well, no. Yeah, MMA, she's 2-0. She's got a pretty extensive history of Muay Thai and kickboxing and doing some other stuff. For somebody being incredibly inexperienced in MMA, we just saw this last weekend. That doesn't necessarily matter because Alex Pereira just put Izzy's lights out in the 5th round for somebody that's inexperienced in MMA. Mm-hmm. If you're a fighter, you're a fighter. And yeah, you saw, like, for instance, you saw Alex get taken down by, of all people, you know, Adesanya taking somebody down. That was kind of like, what? But at the same time, you know, when you're in that gym, whether it's Team Hurricane Awesome, whether it's over in Bahrain or any of these gyms you've trained at, you're not just training one thing.
Yeah.
You're not just training. If you're a wrestler, that's not all you train. You train striking as well. You might not be as natural at it. You might not have the quickness to pick it up and be very fluent in striking if you're a wrestler. And if you're a striker, you might not necessarily be great at doing double leg takedowns and some of, I'll throw you and Shorty in there, Dagestani wrestling, right? Like you might not be so great at that to begin with, but you train at it, you get better. And at the very least, and we see this, and I like to actually use this as an example, as Michael Venom Page over in Bellator. He learned how to stop the takedown.
Yeah.
He might not be a great wrestler. He might be a fish out of water if you get him on his back. But he's learned how to get back up onto his feet if he does get taken down, and he's learned how to stop takedowns. And that sometimes is a big deal. You look at Jorge Masvidal. He's another guy that's really good at trying to prevent the takedown because he knows he's not a wrestler. He's not a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a striker. And I think that's one thing Alba, if she's doing her training right, she might not be a great grappler. And you saw it with Villas-Mil. When Villas-Mil tried to take her down a few times, Alba was really good at, spreading out, keeping that takedown from happening. And sometimes that's all you need, Alex, is like if you're a really great striker, you just need to be able to not be taken down, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny that you're bringing that up because I think that's kind of be telling more for the training for the corner of Eli Rodriguez. Honestly, I think Eli needs to come out of her element of that boxing pedigree that she's got. She's just so clean with that stuff, but she's gonna need to do that kind of stuff. And she's been training with those the likes of Alexa Grasso, for instance. So she's in there with some of those top contenders in the UFC, female fighters. Yeah. That have incorporated that wrestling technique and have demonstrated that high level. So I'm thinking Ellie's gonna really need to lean on that to take on this fight against Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba's got a really good takedown defense. We saw it in her last
Victoria
fight.
Alba, not Jessica.
Victoria Alba,
Get your head out of the
not
movies.
Jessica.
Get your head out of the movies, man.
Not my high school crush when I was growing up.
Not Sin City. Let's go.
So, but Victoria Alba, like I said, she's got the striking game down. I think she's got Eli Rodriguez beaten on that side. So Eli Rodriguez is going to be all on her and her camp to see how they're going to overcome that striking game. And I think that's going to come in by mixing in the striking with the wrestling. And that's what's going to put Victoria Alba out of it. Huh?
That said, who you picking?
That said, I got Victoria Alba on it. I don't know if Eli Rodriguez is going to have has enough experience in fighting that kind of fight where she has to really implement that wrestling game involved. I don't think she has that experience towards it that's going to be successful in this fight. But she can prove me wrong. Both of these girls are very young in the mixed martial arts career. So a takedown could be just a couple efforts into it for Eli Rodriguez to take her down.
I'll tell you one thing that Ellie has that Viesmo kind of had too, that kind of gave Alba problems, is that they're the same height. You know, at that division, at 5'7", you tend to be a little bigger than some of the other girls and longer. And both Ellie Rodriguez and Viesmo were both able to kind of stand toe to toe, at least height wise, length wise, with Victoria Alba. But I think Alba makes up so much difference. Like, you can't box somebody if they're throwing front push kicks at you. Yeah. You can't get in range if Alba is throwing knees and push kicks and constantly using that jab and making herself longer than she already is.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a successful title defense for Alba as well, but it should be a fun fight. Mm-hmm. Over in the co-main event, like I said, Soraya Roscoe off doing the reality competition, so they got an interim title fight. And it's kind of funny, Alex, because we had actually thought after Romo's last win, we're like, well, what's really next for her? Because they're not going to match her up with Orozco because Orozco's already beaten her twice. But if Orozco's not there and they need somebody to step up for an interim title fight, they got Andrea Vasquez on the other side, a 3-1 fighter who's relatively hot right now. She's coming in. She lost a grappling fight, but as far as MMA goes, she's won several in a row, including beating a very tough Hannah Ramos. And she was also on that LUX Fight League 23 card where she got the win against Linda Martel. This is going to be a pretty fun matchup with Romo and Vasquez. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. When we saw Choco Romo fighting the last time around, she was doing fantastic. It actually impressed me very much with her ability to really dominate that fight. She was using a lot of different technique and different skills. One of the things that I'm looking here at some of my notes here, she's 8-6 in mixed martial arts, right? And compared that to Andrea Vasquez of a 3-1 fight, career, that's quite the difference in fighting, right? Yeah, and experience. So, we're looking at this. She's ranked number 13 for all of Mexico as a female fighter. So, I mean, she's been around the block, and she's got a ton of experience. So, I'm thinking Romo here might come up with a nice victory for her that she would win this interim title.
She's very streaky. Romo is won 3 in a row, lost 3 in a row, won 3 in a row, lost 3 in a row. She's won 2 in a row, so she's due to win the 3rd in a row if we're going by history.
Yeah.
But history doesn't fight. And I mean, then again, if we look at last weekend, I guess history does fight. But history, isn't going to get in that cage with you and throw those punches for you. I think experience is definitely on the side of Romo. And if we look at the one similar opponent, Hannah Ramos, Romo handled her better than Vasquez did. Vasquez got the win, but it was a split decision. It was a close fight. Whereas, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Romo went out and did her thing against Hannah Ramos and set up the point that we were like, well, she deserves a title shot, but she won't get it because of Orozco and her history. But now, it might actually happen. It might not be a choice. It might have to be Orozco and Romo one more time. Because I do think the experience edge is on Ramos' side. I think just the pure training levels, right? Like, you're talking about, a girl that's been fighting with some of the best and training with some of the best, and you see it on social media. You see it in like all the camps that she goes through, the different camps in Mexico. She's trained a little bit with the Moreno camp. She's trained a little bit down in Mexico City. She's constantly making herself better. And the only thing is that Vasquez is a grappler. Vasquez is going to try to wrestle you, try to do certain things to like slow you down. So I do think that this is Ramos' fight to lose, but Vasquez can make it dirty. She can wrestle her and slow her down. Could be a different fight. Who do you think comes out on top of this one?
I got Romo on this one just because of how tough she fights, and it's going to be tough for her to get submitted by Vasquez. Now, I'm calling it out there. Vasquez is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, which is a significant difference there from her, from Romo's blue belt. So it's in MMA though, as you know, that's going to make a big difference when you're getting punched in the face. So we'll have to see, man. I think it's going to be really tough for Vasquez to submit Romo. I think Romo is going to come out. It's got more experience to avoid those submissions attempts from Vasquez. So I got to win for her. I got to go with the red corner here.
You're assuming they're in the red corner.
Yeah, it's always the red corner. Yeah. More experience usually goes. There's some etiquette.
Isn't it gold and black corner?
We do. That's right. It's black and white corner, I believe.
Black and white corner. Sorry, I got mixed up with the colors of LUX, but still, yeah, y'all don't do red and blue down there. Y'all got to be different. Right.
You had to call me out, huh, Mike? Thanks.
Well, look, first of all, I want to congratulate you, bro, because you've been on your fire today. Like, you got the homework done. You know about the purple belt and the blue belt, and yeah, man, I got to congratulate you, bro. Hey, you're geared up and you're ready for fight week. You're ready for Friday night.
It was too long. Too much time has gone by for us talking about some LUX MMA fights, man. So I got
this time it was his fault. It was his fault. Why you've been waiting for Crossing Borders. But this episode so far has been bringing you fire. And that includes the return of featherweight Diego Lopes, former UFC fighter, longtime LUX fighter. Are you excited to see him get back in the LUX Fight League cage against Pasha Rodriguez?
Yeah, dude, I'm so stoked to see him, dude. Every time I see him fight, he's just...
And let me preface this. Is there any chance he loses?
Of course there's a chance, man. He's going up against a tough Angel Rodriguez, dude. Of course, man, who's got a 10-10 record. A guy who has a 10-10 record is always trouble. All right? That's going to be trouble. That dude's been in the game for a long... Here's what I've noticed about...
Going against a guy who's 20-5. Okay. And all those losses have come at like UFC. I think he lost one fight.
The one in Russia.
Russia, and one in Fury, and he does not lose very often. You have to go all the way back to when he fought like in a promotion called Big Way Fight in Amazonas Regionals to like see like his first two losses. Like Diego Lopes has been around for a long time. He got to the Contender Series. Unfortunately, didn't get that contract, but man, he's a staple when it comes to Latin American MMA.
Dude, that Diego Lopes is one of my favorites. I think one of the name brands for LUX. That dude's super cool, super nice to get along. You talk to the guy, he's just like the friendliest guy you'll ever meet, like you do when you meet any MMA fighter. Very few have I met that were like, not a pleasant to be around. But he is just a beast inside, man. He just lets it all out, man. When I see him, I remember vividly watching the fight against Masio Fullen, where they touch gloves, they get right into it, and Diego Lopes just starts off with these aggressive combinations, left, right hooks, like right off the cage. I mean, he's just so fast, so aggressive, and then he goes right for the takedown, man. It makes you fall right into it, man, into his game, which is his jiu-jitsu, man, which is fantastic for MMA. I think he's tailor-made his Brazilian jiu-jitsu in for mixed martial arts, and he is very efficient in the way he handles you on the ground. And he avoids a lot of damage. I mean, we see him with the knee bar when he got Marco Beltran with the knee bar. I mean, it was just like beautiful. He didn't even get touched against that guy, which is hard to do because you know how he is. The Beltran,
see how dominant of a champion Beltran is now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely very good to see him go out there and do as well as he did. So
the scary
that's
thing
how,
is, with all his experience, he's only 27 years old.
I know, it's crazy.
Like, you're talking about a guy with 25 fights. Of course, he's also the teammate of Alessandro Nono Costa. They fight out of that Brazilian camp. Man, you're talking about a guy with that much experience and only 27 years old. And he's coming back to LUX Fight League to put a bigger name on him, like get more resume to get another shot at UFC.
Yeah.
Like, he's coming back with a mission. He's going to come out and try to put out like 2 or 3 guys quickly so he can get that another shot, because he sees the way like Eric Silva, his teammate Alessandro Costa, Bam Bam, all those guys are getting shots at Dana White's Contender Series. He wants another shot. And the guy he lost to in Contender Series, Joanderson Brito, is no joke. Like, Brito's been doing his thing in the UFC since he won that contract.
Yep.
So it's not like he lost to a scrub. He took a setback. He lost to Brito, and then he lost the next fight to split decision, which, maybe it was in his head. Who knows, right?
He's a beast, man. Yeah.
But
Gosh, man.
if he's on his game, I don't see any way that Pasha sets up with Diego Lopes.
I agree. I agree. There's no comparison in the quality of all, in the technique, in it. But these are punches being thrown, man. Juan doesn't mess around with that shit, man. I'm sure he wants to finish this fight and wants to get out of there as soon as possible and try to avoid the ground game.
I mean, like you said, it's a fight. Anything can happen, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Also on that card, you got Ricardo Loco Areola against Almazo Alvarez. You got the other Luis Rodriguez, El Nino Azteca, going against Emilio Cuellar. You got your good friend Kevin Garcia going against Mauricio Nieves, which is going to be a war. Irvin Amaya versus Savage Nava. You got the Challenger Series as well. What other fights on that card are really kind of standing out to you as somebody we just have to watch?
Well, you got to look at the
main card is stacked.
It is. I mean, if you stack with guys that we've seen come up in LUX, Luis Rodriguez, for instance, Nino Azteca's 4-0, undefeated at LUX. 4-0 is a record, one of those homegrown guys, and he's going to be taking Emilio Cuellar, who's another LUX guy who's been around, 7-2. That's going to be a really fascinating fight to watch. I think I like the way Luis Rodriguez fights. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and and Show Kid always throws up a show. They call him Show Kid because he's fun to watch guy, man, and we've seen him do some great stuff. So that, keep an eye on that fight.
Funny thing is like we always talk so highly of him, but I don't think we've ever actually picked him. Like every time he's going against somebody else, and we're like, yeah, it's going to be a fun fight, but the other person's probably going.
It's because you got fighters that fight to show, right? To fight. Guys like Nick Diaz, or Nate Diaz that fight just to fight you, man, just to punch you in the face. And then you got guys that are a little bit more strategic that want to win the fight. You got GSPs going in there and focusing on the tactical approach to get that W, man. And so, these guys, that's why I like. But we as fans love that guy that's just there to fight, man, and hurt you, man. He doesn't care about anything else. So it's just something about that. But one of my favorite bantamweights, who has kind of put me down here in the last fights, but Irvin Amaya, of course, is just a stud. I hope he's.
I thought you were going another direction with that, Alex, but okay.
What are you talking about?
I thought you were going to talk about another bantamweight, but go ahead.
Oh, dude, no, I know where you're going now. You're going with Kevin Garcia, the Prendido. I love that guy. I love how he fights, man. We had a bad style fight matchup one time, and then so that's it, and then that's fine. After that, he gets back into the game. So I'm glad to see him fight. But I'm highlighting some fights here that I'm really interested in watching. I want to see Irvin the Storm Amaya come back and do one of his awesome striking, clinics on Abraham the Savage Nava. I think it's going to be great. I think it's a great matchup. We have we've seen Nava fight already. He's been in the LUX cage twice already. Won one, lost one. But I think this is a perfect matchup for both of these guys. Both guys were coming in pretty hot, and now these guys are now settling into their career and starting to, really carve out their start carve out their journey in MMA.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, speaking of the other one, and no, there is no like bad fight on this main card. Like this main card, they set this one up like for this one and the December card are just stacked. But that other fight, that other bantamweight fight, Kevin Garcia versus Mauricio Nueves, like that fight would headline almost any other LUX Fight League card. Like that fight, both those guys are setting up for an opportunity at Beltran. Both those guys are setting up, like, because both of them are on win streaks. Both of them have been doing very well lately. We've been talking about Kevin Garcia maybe needs one more impressive performance to try to get that shot. And you look at the fights above them, you're like, okay, I can kind of see why they're where they are on the card. But damn, like they would be headlining LUX Fight League 27, 20, well, not 27 with Costa, but like 26, 25. Like they would be headlining some of these cards. And they're like the fifth fight, the sixth fight on the main card, like down from the main event. And I'm just like, wow. And that's not even mentioning the Challenger Series. Because let's look at this real quick. You got Titi Variel versus Bravo. You got Fabian Lopez versus Morales. You got longtime LUX Fight League fighter Uriel Uribe going against Severda. Padilla versus Alarcon. You got Garza versus Navarro. All these are experienced fighters on a challenge league challenge card, which is crazy.
Yeah, nuts.
Any of those challenge fights really stand out to you?
Yeah, well, we got the flyweight coming in with Uriel Uribe is coming back. We've seen him fight. He's had some LUX record of 3-3. It's been around there. Another guy.
It reminds me of Casio. We were just talking about last week.
Casio. Yeah.
Casio. Yeah, it's the same, almost the same story.
Right.
Like,
yes,
like they've been around for a while, but they need to make an impact to kind of like step up.
Yeah, he'll be making his seventh day. What would you call it? Performance inside the cage.
Appearance.
So at flyweight, man, and he's coming out of Tijuana, going down to Monterrey because that's where we're going to be at. And
are y'all going to be on the same plane?
No, those guys. When I get there, they're trying to cut weight. They're all miserable. They're pissed off.
They're about for like 3 days.
Yeah. It's I get there, I show up, the night before,
have a cocktail or two,
the weigh-ins, and then the next day, game time, and then go visit the city. Boom, head home.
You get the privilege of going in there trying to like get a couple sound bites out of them while they're angry as hell at the world and don't want to talk to nobody, but they're like, he's going to talk about me during the show, so I got to be nice to him.
I'm always super chill. Like I don't mess with them when they're in the weigh-ins. I just know how miserable, and it's like whatever. Like I'll talk to you guys after the game if I catch you. But yeah, it's cool, man.
Well, this card headlined by Victoria Alba. She's going to have the hometown crowd behind her like she did last time. So it's going to be a big event on the 18th. Man, I got to tell you, there's a lot of times I go back and I'll watch the LUX Fight League events after they're done because there's so much going on, usually the same time they are. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to be glued to the screen for this one.
Awesome, man.
There's just like what fight do you tune away from? Like name 1 through like 12 like that you don't look at, like 13. Yeah. Like they're every fight you're like, oh shit. So props to LUX Fight League for stepping up for this card. This is a big one. Definitely leave your comments before and after the event. Let us know what you think of all the fights, what you're looking forward to. Like I said, head over to fightersfirst.shop. Get Shorty Torres's collection. Of course, Shorty's of Mexican and Puerto Rican descent, so support your Latin American fighters. Very proud Chicago native, so we got something out right now. By the time this show airs, you might even see both because both are being debuted today, but the collection is all available on Fighters First. And then that said, go get your boy the Extreme Oak and get his collection. We got a dope hoodie in there for the holidays. We're working on a new t-shirt to celebrate his UWC title win as soon as he gets me something.
I can even get you those pictures.
I'll put them on blast on the show. I'm just going to put them on blast on the show. You want to see that shirt? Put pressure on your boy Alex to get me the stuff I need to get.
I'll get
that shirt in your hands. You want the shirt? Tell him to get me what I need. And then I think we can announce it, Alex. Right? We're pretty much in the process. We're going to start airing some of the versus fights, the amateur fights, right here on the network, which is going to be pretty dope.
That's awesome.
You get a chance to see some of these Muay Thai amateurs before they turn pro, and as they come up, Alex throws these versus events a few times a year, and they're always incredible. So we're going to people have asked me, like, where can we watch these fights? You're going to be able to watch them right here on Fighters First.
Coming up right here on the network. Muay Thai fights is we got a couple of professional fights, professional tournament fights, and we also have some amateurs, so you get to see what kind of level these guys are coming up here in San Diego. Locally, man, it's nuts, man. You'll see some awesome knockouts, and I'm looking forward to being able to show it to everybody through Fighters First. So I'm really excited for us to get together and do that.
Yeah, I'm honored. I'm glad we could get that on the network soon, and look forward for that. But Alex, they'll be seeing you Friday night in Monterrey, Mexico, LUX Fight League 28. Make sure you guys tune in. UFC Fight Pass as always. ESPN Deportes, Fox Deportes, all these different networks to see some of the best action happening south of the border. So shout out to LUX Fight League. This card is stacked. I'm looking forward to it. But this is Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Ginn. That's Extremo Alex Soto. We'll see y'all soon. We're out.